The US air travel market is pretty competitive. Yes, there are the big three network carriers, American, United and Delta, but there's also Southwest. There are also smaller players like JetBlue, Alaska Hawaiian and ultra-low-cost carriers Frontier and Spirit. But, well, when it comes to competition among premium airlines, apparently United Airlines CEO Scott Kirby thinks that there is only room for two such carriers operating in the United States. American Airlines, to him, is not one of them. We unpack Kirby's perspective and the response from American CEO for today's video. So the comments were made at the JP Morgan conference in mid-March when Kirby was asked about the possibility of American becoming a more premium airline. As we've highlighted in some of our videos, American has been struggling financially compared to its major network rivals. 1 Mile at a Time highlights that American executives believe the airline needs to become more premium to compete. But will it actually happen? Well, according to the head of United Airlines, maybe not. In the past, Kirby has claimed that the US only has room for two premium airlines. So, at the recent conference, an analyst from JP Morgan asked Kirby if he really believes that, and if he truly doesn't think the market can support another premium airline. Kirby's answer was as follows. Well, the first time I actually remember saying that was 12/09/2013, which was the day the American Airlines US Airways merger closed. And at the end of a successful day, I got everyone in the room and said there's only room in the country for two successful premium airlines. We're going to be it. Do note that back in 2013, Kirby had just become the president of American Airlines after the company merged with US Airways. Kirby's quote and memories of 2013 continue with him saying, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to Seatback entertainment. We're going to sort of the same playbook. We're going to do all this stuff. We're going to push United out of the transcon market. Then we're going to push them out of Los Angeles. Then we're going to push them out of Chicago." I said that on 12/09/2013, so I've thought that for a long time. The airlines decided to flip the playbooks, but I still think there's only room for two. It's just the size of the market. You just look at the big metro areas like New York is big enough to have two. Finally, Kirby, talking about the present situation, concludes by saying, "It's really hard to be three in there. It's hard to have a competitive advantage. Here in New York, Delta is bigger on one side of the river, we're bigger on the other. We can each kind of be number one, but it's hard to be, the real point is it's hard to be number two. And you just run out of big cities where you can be number two. You can be really big in a place that's not New York or Chicago or Los Angeles, but it's hard to be kind of global and comprehensive if you can't be number one in those big cities. And I thought there was always only room for two as you just look at the map, and I still think there's only room for two." Our apologies that Kirby's quote or quotes take up nearly half of this video. However, it really is some interesting insight from an individual who knows the industry quite well. Kirby was president at American Airlines from 2013 to 2016 before moving on to lead United after that. The website Live and Let's Fly calls Kirby's perspective and statements about American Airlines quote-unquote revisionist history. Matthew Clint highlights that during his tenure at US Airways, Kirby introduced plans to charge for in-flight beverages and removed seat power from aircraft. Additionally, he was resistant to add Wi-Fi internet on board and was seen as someone who carefully analyzed data and financial reports to maximize efficiency and reduce expenses, sometimes at the expense of employees and passengers. Clint goes on saying, "The idea that he tried to add seatback screens at American is curious because the Airbus A321 and Boeing 737 aircraft with seatback screens were ordered before the merger with US Airways. When the legacy US Airways Airbus A319s were retrofitted during his time at AA, seatback screens were not added. Furthermore, Project Oasis, in which AA removed seatback screens, did not begin until after he left American Airlines, but was planned during his tenure." So maybe Kirby's track record doesn't exactly match up with his actions whilst leading American. However, we at least know now where Kirby stands on offering a premium experience. We also know how he feels about American. And so, what is equally as interesting about all of this is the response from the CEO of American Airlines, Robert Isim, who knew what Kirby was saying as he was at the same event. The aforementioned analyst from JP Morgan asked Isim why Kirby was wrong in clearly insinuating that American can't be a premium airline, and Isim stated, "I worked for Scott and with Scott for a long time, so I've seen him be right on a lot of stuff. He's a brilliant man. I've seen him wrong in a lot of stuff, and in this case, he's dead wrong. And the reason for that is American's been around for a long time. American probably had, a weaker hand going into the pandemic. Certainly we were hamstrung on the way out." Taking some of the more interesting snippets from Isim, he continues saying, "I'm sure because he would like nothing better than to not have American as a competitor. He would guarantee he doesn't like us being a competitor in his backyard in some places. But to that end, we're a premium product carrier. We've got a great fleet. We're not dependent on a lot of the issues that Boeing or Airbus has to deal with. We have an incredible position with, Sunbelt position, hub position, enviable relationships. I see Luis Gallego here from IAG. Anyone would love, to have a partner with, Iberia and BA in their network of carriers. The same thing holds true across, the Pacific with JAL and our other partners. American is not going anywhere. American is recovering, and I can guarantee you that anything that you hear to the contrary is just concerned that we're actually making a lot of progress." Those who have reviewed these comments are a bit underwhelmed by Isim's response, as if he didn't really address whether or not American is, in fact, a premium airline. Instead, he just highlighted some key partner airlines. But maybe all of this is simply airline CEOs talking a big game and trying to express confidence in public. Or maybe it's a reflection of the intense competition taking place between the network airlines of the United States. Matthew Clint of Live and Let's Fly suspects Doug Parker's de facto firing of Kirby from American Airlines in 2016 and the pivot to United has, quote, inserted an unavoidable personal element into the battle against American Airlines and pushed Kirby even more to push United to surpass American.
You were being groomed to be the CEO of American.
Certainly what I thought.
Okay.
And then 3 months later, he walked in on a Monday afternoon and had a little sheet of paper, and he's kind of nervous, which was weird because we're good friends and know each other.
Vacation together with your families?
We had, and he kind of read a little script that said, essentially I changed my mind, and that's going to make it where you and I can't work together. So it was the most shocking moment of my life.
Basically, wait.
You're fired.
You're fired.
Yeah.
Talk about airline CEO drama. But what do you think about all of this? When you think about the US air travel market, is there enough room for 3 domestic premium carriers? And would you consider American to be a premium airline? Why or why not? Do let us know what you think by leaving a comment. Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles every week. If you're looking for the latest aviation news and insights, visit simpleflying.com.